There was one time I had £10 in my bank account that would last me 10 days. I was selling stuff on Vinted. I was doing extra stuff. I was working 3 different jobs. I was just trying to generate income.
So you are a law student at Russell Group University. You're a placement student at the moment. You're also on the side a property entrepreneur, and you're also a creator. You make content and you have over 12,000 followers as well.
Correct.
Yeah. And how old are you?
Just turned 21 in January. When I did get the placement, I remember I had the interview. I heard back literally the next day. I had a personalized message from one of the managers on LinkedIn. The one thing that I can tell people going into this business, is I'm just doing everything that I can to be financially free when I'm 30, living in the Maldives.
Okay. Welcome back to the Struggling Entrepreneur podcast. If you haven't already subscribed, I highly recommend you do so because we've got a lot of guests lined up. You don't want to miss it. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you'll see all of our videos. And we've got one of those guests here with me today. I'm here with Armando. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you so much, Joe. Such a pleasure to be on. It's quite a surreal feeling. It still hasn't sunk in.
It hasn't quite sunk in. What an honor.
Yeah. It's great to be on. Thank you.
So, Armando, let me summarize. So you are a law student.
Yes.
At Russell Group University.
Yes.
Not bad. You're a placement student at the moment.
Yes.
You're also on the side a property entrepreneur.
Yes.
And you're also a creator on, you make content and you have over 12,000 followers as well.
Correct. Yep.
And how old are you?
Just turned 21 in January.
God, man. I feel so old, man. 27 never felt so. The funny thing is, I feel like you remind me of, because we do all of the similar stuff. We're both involved in rent service accommodation.
Of course.
I did a placement as well. Mm-hmm. I create content, but you're just 5 years before.
That's it means I'm doing something well, I guess.
Yeah, man. It's not all going bad. So how did you end up in the placement? Let's start there. How did you end up in the placement you're doing? Why did you choose it, and what's the idea behind that?
Yeah, so I guess the reason I chose a placement year was essentially to have an opportunity to be in London, because I guess London, it's a great way to start your career. It's a great way to build connections. But yeah, it's I guess a great place to be in. But I'm studying law. But the reason why I kind of went into the placement that I did, so I'm in R&D tax at the moment, very niche area of tax. But I guess first I kind of saw the word innovation, R&D tax innovation. I was like, okay, this sounds super interesting. Did my research and due diligence, and it did. But yeah, I kind of started off there and I gained significant experience, but I kind of wanted to find a placement that challenged both my numerical skills as well as my written skills. So I kind of wanted a 50-50 thing within a placement. And yeah, I guess that's essentially what it gave me, because we have a costing side and a technical side, and it's split 50-50. But obviously from a law student, you think of tax and you're like, this is not what I want to do. But yeah, I kind of wanted to step outside the box a bit and do something that I wouldn't. So I always like to stretch myself and, do things that I wouldn't want to do. So yeah, I guess I'm doing my placement now. I've got 3 months left, which is crazy. Right. Yeah, so I started earlier. I started in start of July. And yeah, I've got 3 months left. And that's, I guess, it's kind of how I got into R&D and why I wanted to go into it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what was the other part of the question, did you say?
Well, I guess from there, I'd say, so what were your goals going into this whole thing? Did you want to be a lawyer?
Yes, I guess I still do.
Do you still want to be a lawyer?
I guess I still do, cool. Yes. But I guess the corporate world, it's kind of shed light on the fact that, it's there are several different sectors and departments that you can go into, but the work is very similar. It's just focused on a different area, if that makes sense. So I'm just thinking about the kind of work that I've done recently, and I'm thinking whether that's something I still want to pursue. I guess the thing is, a part of me says, I've sacrificed, nearly 4 years. I've got 1 year left in my law degree. It's do I go all the way and stretch myself and just qualify as a solicitor, try and secure a training contract, or do I kind of do something different? And that's where my business comes into play. But we can talk about that later on.
So you're kind of almost at I guess you've got time though, right? So you're going to go back to uni, and how many years do you have left?
Just 1 year left of university, yes.
Okay.
And after that, whether I secure training contracts or not, or whether I fund the SQE myself, it's extra year of studying the SQE and then 2 years practical experience. Got it. And you're qualified.
Cool.
So.
And what was your experience like in landing that placement? Was it hard?
It was a hard process, 5-stage process. Very much, your general psychometric tests, your applications, case study exercises, final interviews. But when I did get the placement, I remember I had the interview with 2 managers, and I heard back literally the next day. So I was very fortunate enough to hear back. And I had a personalized message from one of the managers on LinkedIn. Ooh. Yeah.
A lot of us out here getting ghosted.
I was honestly, I can remember where I was. I was studying in a cafe. Yeah. And I kind of saw the message, and it was like, "Hi, Armando." And it carried on, and I was like, "Oh my God," like my heart dropped. And then I opened it and I read it, and it basically said like, "Hi, we were super impressed with your interview yesterday. We kind of wanted to let you know before the recruitment team that we would love to take you on. And that we would love to get you involved in client-facing work straight away off the back." And yeah, my reaction, my heart just dropped, because I've been working towards like a placement, internships, etc. So hard throughout the year. So for me to get something towards the end of second year where I wasn't sure whether I was going to do a placement or not, it was a great achievement. So. And
what did that? You said you did a lot of work towards like landing plate. What did that work look like? What kind of things were you doing?
I think it's just I guess applications, just doing my due diligence in the different departments and placements that were on offer at the time. But it was definitely tough, just because your balance is basically like a part-time job essentially. You're just applying constantly, and the application process is so long, like it's so daunting. But I guess what I do is I treat, I guess, a negative situation into a positive. So I like to have that perspective on everything essentially. And as I was applying, I was like, okay, I've got one application out the way that's improved my written skills in the different format that they wanted. I've answered these questions, and essentially I just made a massive template towards the end of my, like, a Word document, and it had all of the previous questions that I've had and all of the answers that I wrote.
Wow.
So I could always just go, when I start a new application, I can just go back to that template and kind of copy, paste, adjust, and add different bits. So yeah.
I had a similar thing, because in consulting, which is my industry, the interview process is tough, but there's a lot of it that I actually was genuinely learning about business through the process. Some of the consultants will tell you it was all useless and it's hypothetical, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But for me, it was like, you're practicing these case interviews where there's loads of different types of cases, but an example one might be that you go into the room and the interviewer says, okay, this corporate catering business in Dubai is losing money. What should they do? And you have to kind of work through a framework and like try and come up with some suggestions and break the problem down. Yeah. And I was so happy to learn about that. I just I actually convinced another friend to apply for consulting as well. Yeah. And we just sit down and practice cases. Yeah. And I was completely happy to do that. I felt like I was actually learning about business. And even, I remember the job that I'm in now, the consulting job that I'm in, I remember the interview because I got absolutely grilled so bad. I got so badly grilled in this case interview. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? There's 0% chance I got that job. I got fried so hard. I was sweating. I had a headache for like the rest of the week. I was in bed with a headache the rest of the
Recovering.
week. Yeah. But I was like, even if I know I'm not going to get it, but even if I don't, I learned so much because they coached me in the session. They showed me all the areas that I was doing wrong. Like I could see things like next time I'm going to be better. And luckily I got the job as well. But you can turn like the interview process into coaching if you have the right kind of mindset as well.
Yeah. No, of course. And I second that as well. I feel as though, especially with case study exercises, it's a lot of the case studies that I've had, it's kind of been a mergers and acquisitions kind of scenario, or it's like you're advising the client and their company on the, certain risks that can occur whilst you're, kind of trying to figure out the solution between people around you. You're working in a group collaboratively. But I guess it does teach you a lot, and it's good to kind of have that mindset of, this is kind of a lesson going forwards, and these are the kind of risk points that should be addressed later on if you have, an assessment center or whatever it may be. But yeah, no, I completely agree.
Cool. So why do you think it went so well? So you got that personalized LinkedIn message, which I've never heard of happening before. Like, what do you think you were particularly good at? If you got any feedback, or if you had a hunch?
To be fair, I had really good feedback. I guess both of the managers said that I was kind of really approachable. I was being my authentic self. And I guess my experience as well. So during my second year, I basically told them that, I had a part-time job. It was like an administration support job for a car parking company, and it was all fully remote. And I was lucky enough that my mum works for the company, so I kind of got that part-time job on a 0-hour contract. But yeah, I was doing that for uni, but I think my work ethic was what kind of, had a big impact on them, because what I used to do is I used to wake up at 5-6 in the morning. I'd used to smash out like a 5-6 hour shift, because I can clock my hours anytime I want. And yeah, bang out a 5-6 hour shift, and kind of just get on with my uni, because uni essentially starts from like 9 to 5, your lectures, your seminars and stuff. But I was very motivated and determined in terms of that, because not all of us are kind of lucky enough to have parents who can just pay off for their uni. I had to sustain myself. So yeah, I'd wake up really early, and I'd kind of just get everything done, as well as my extracurricular activities. So I played for the Bucks team for football, for the third team. I went to the gym and stuff, still kept active. But I think that just demonstrated a lot of skills in terms of, time management, organizational skills, work ethic, determination. There are so many different aspects that I kind of presented within that interview from that job and from other experiences. So I think, that's why I left a good approach, I guess. I guess.
Yeah, no, I get that, because the thing I found with, like, when I got to the point where I started to interview and be involved in the recruitment process from the other side, and made hiring mistakes and made good hires and bad hires, is that really the things that you're looking for are the things that can't be coached. Like, there's a lot of things that you can coach. You can coach. If someone's not so good with spreadsheets or analysis or whatever, we can probably teach you in 6 weeks or whatever. But if somebody's attitude is wrong, or they're defensive, or they don't work hard, or they don't take responsibility, or even like their interpersonal skills, like, do they feel like someone you could put in front of a client and feel completely safe? They're not going to like do something stupid.
Of course.
Or like, they don't just, like, some people just don't get it. Like, they just don't get what they'll say something. It's like, I can't believe you said that.
Yeah.
And they just don't get it. Like that kind of thing. I've spent years trying to coach that to people. It's just really hard to coach.
I'm very happy you actually mentioned that, because I feel like it's a thing that cannot be coached. I feel like sometimes you either have it or you don't. I feel it's like a thing that you're, I guess, born with, because my mum, she was a single parent immigrant. She came to England from Estonia, kind of started a new life at a very young age, and she just made her way up, and she never had to kind of nag me to do my homework. She never had to push me to do anything. I was already it was kind of built in me. It's a really weird concept, but it just kind of happened and it clicked. And the place where I'm from, where I kind of grew up in East Midlands in Burton, the pass rate for attending Russell Group universities and doing these amazing things was very low. Like I went to a state school, so it was a completely different thing. But I was one of the people that kind of made it out. But that drive and that motivation, I kind of just had it within me. It's like, and that's something that you can't teach. Yeah. So I completely get what you mean.
That's funny, because my dad told me what you just said, almost word for word.
Yeah.
So he's the, like, I don't know what generation it is, but his parents, my grandparents, came here from Jamaica, couldn't really read or write, extremely poor neighborhood. Yeah. And he's now a professor of psychology. He's like one of the only like a couple hundred black professors in the country. And he said the same thing. It's like all of his peers, they would laugh at him for staying on for A-levels. Yeah. Like, because they all would like left and got jobs, selling drugs or whatever. And he's like, I can't explain it. It's just something that was, for some reason I was curious, for some reason it just made sense to me to just apply myself. And it's not my environment. I don't know what it is. So yeah, you must be right, man. You must be right. Both of you must be right. So what would you say then to, if somebody's watching this, they are a first year or second year at university and they want to break into the corporate world, what advice would you give them?
Network. Network is one of the biggest things that I kind of focused on throughout starting university. So, you know, people were kind of going out and, you know, doing their thing and spending money, whereas I was so focused right from the get-go, just because I don't have anything to fall back on. You know, I don't have the, I guess, supporting from my mum. You know, she's not a millionaire. She doesn't own a hedge fund. She doesn't do anything like that. So, you know, my sole purpose was kind of, you know, go to uni, make the connections, as well as do my degree and, you know, move on further. But yeah, I would definitely recommend networking, just because if I'm being completely transparent with you, I was, you know, never smart. I was never naturally smart and gifted. I always had to work hard through GCSEs, through A levels, you know, through my university degree. I always had to kind of work twice as hard in comparison to others who kind of just had it there on a plate. So yeah, I would definitely say that kind of built my character as well. Networking, you know, going to several events. I think in first year, I met a woman from Deloitte. She was a manager in legal management consulting, and she just left such a good impression on the company, as well as, you know, her experience and what she did. And I can remember I had a contract law exam on that day. So I was multitasking from this event. I was going in between meetings, trying to write this essay and finish it off at 2 p.m. And I was just listening to talks at the same time. But yeah, I would definitely just recommend going to several events. You know, when you start off uni, just put yourself out there. You know, you've got 3 years or however long your degree may be. You have to make an impact. You have to do the most, because, you know, once you come out of your university degree and you kind of get that diploma, you know, a lot of people think, what's next? But the reason they think what's next is because they haven't put that grind and that hustle in from the start, from the get-go. So hence why I would definitely recommend networking as one of the biggest things.
Interesting. That's a good one, man. Let's talk about content.
Let's go.
you and I are both, I guess we're in the similar space of like career TikTok kind of space. What made you start creating content?
I guess I just wanted to share my experience. So at first it was kind of signposting, helping others, because as you know, obviously breaking into a corporate career is so difficult. The market is very saturated, and you know, it's so tough kind of getting those placements and those internships. Hence why I kind of wanted to create a platform, a safe space in a way to share my experience and to influence others. So yeah, hence why I started TikTok.
Did you have any hesitation at the beginning? Like, did you feel weird about like talking to a camera or anything like that?
The thing is, I don't think so. I've always been very extroverted. Like, I've always kind of, you know, at first, obviously, it was a bit awkward just putting your phone in front and just watching yourself speak.
Do you remember what your first video was? Like the first one where you put the phone down and you like try and share something.
Geez, this is a throwback. I don't think it was actually too long ago, but it was just I think it was just my experience of kind of getting a placement year. I think that was the first video, and I think it took me so long. Like, it took me so long to record. I remember in one of your previous videos when you were starting off your TikTok, you were saying how it took a long time for you to record. You know, you'd be sitting there with your ring light and you'd be recording for, you know, 4 hours, and you'd send off the video and it's like it didn't really do what you wanted it to do.
Yep.
But I guess it's just like a trial and error thing. You just kind of post, keep that consistency up, and yeah, your account blows.
Yeah, I definitely found that like there's certain topics I felt like I'm very comfortable with and I could talk about quite easily. But then there's the process of like turning it into something that somebody else. It's like getting something out of your brain and turning it into something that other people can consume. And I really enjoyed that process, because I have a lot of interest in like marketing and copywriting and just like the science of influence as well. So it was quite like a fun experiment for me to be like, I would tweak things and like, it's like the addicting thing for me is like you'd shoot a video and then it gets a score. And then you're like, okay, what if I tweak this? What is the next video? And then what if I tweak this? And then some videos I'd do this like, just like I try and create negative emotions in people, saying like, if you miss this, you are fucked. I'd be like, if you're not doing this, everyone's going to leave you behind. Your friends are going to look at you and think, what happened to that guy? And I'm like, oh my God. Like and then other ones I'd be like, I take a different angle, like a more positive angle. And like, I just really enjoyed like experimenting like that. But yeah, so where do you want to take it? Like, do you have something in mind that you want to do with it, or is it just a case of like something you're doing for fun?
I guess it's just a case that I'm doing it for fun, just to kind of spread awareness. But I guess if the account, I guess I have a decent amount of followers at the moment, but if it reaches the 20, 30, 40,000, I definitely kind of want to expand, I guess, kind of get a team in place. I think it would be really nice to kind of, you shoot the content and then you have people editing it and doing all of the logistics behind it. I think that would be so perfect.
Yeah.
But then again, it's just a matter of time because I'm juggling so many things at once, and it's, it generally takes time because you have to record it. That takes multiple takes, as well as editing it after and doing little bits and bobs at the end. It's time consuming. So yeah, I would definitely say, if it starts blowing up and people like the content, which, by the views and the comments that I've kind of had, people enjoy it, then I'd kind of want to expand. But at the moment, it's kind of just for fun and spreading awareness, I guess.
Yeah, I think the element of focus, if you're doing like stuff like what we're doing, where you have a job and then you have a side thing and then you have content as well, focus is so important because you can very rapidly get very average at a lot of things. And you'll look back over a year and think, okay, I've done like 20% of my potential in 4 things. I wish I'd just done 100% in one thing. But at least the way I found, I'm kind of in a similar space with content where it's probably like 4th or 5th on my priority list, but I still want to continue with it. And the way I've done it is I've basically just become a streamer, got an editor, and that's all I do now. I'll just record a stream, which is great because people just I can just sit down and do it for an hour or whatever. People fire their questions, and then I'll just send that to an editor, and then they clip it and post it. And like one of them is my most viewed video just from doing that, 800,000 views of
That's
the
really
thing.
good.
I was like, you posted that? I didn't even know it was going up. But okay, so speaking of content, then have you had much like negativity through your like in the comments, the trolls, the haters?
There are so many of them. Like, it's just, yeah. I'm just so used to it now because, you just can't get rid of them. They're just there all the time. And it's always the same profile pictures as well. I don't know if you've noticed that, but it's always the little avatars that are just, honestly. I definitely had a lot. I mean, I still do.
How do you think about it? Like, how do you process it in your head?
I kind of find it funny, to be fair. I kind of find it funny just because it's always the people that are kind of hiding behind the screens with no content, with a little avatar. And it's like the comments are, I guess, meaningless. But if you turn it, like I said, turning a negative thing into a positive, the fact that people are taking their time to view your video, to comment negative stuff, it's jealousy. It's kind of, you're doing something that they're not doing. And they're the ones that are kind of, looking at your videos, commenting negative things, and that's their time spent. So I guess that's the kind of outlook that I have. It's like, keep them coming. The views are racking up. So
it's just boosting the algorithm.
Exactly that.
Yeah,
exactly.
I found the funny thing I found with them is like often, especially if it's on a video that has a lot of views, I don't think they expect you to actually see it.
Yeah.
So sometimes they'll leave a comment being like, this is absolute nonsense. No idea what you're talking about. And then I'll just like give a rational response and be like, oh, thanks for commenting. What was your opinion? And then they might be like, a little bit less toned down. And then eventually they'll be like, sorry, mate, I was a bit out of line. Like, I'll get a message being like, sorry, I just wanted to suggest this, and this. It's almost like, if somebody was, you know, if you're like those like corporate windows where you can see as a mirror,
Yeah.
and you don't realize there's someone on the other side.
Yeah.
And then when they open the window and they see there's someone on the other side, they're embarrassed. They're
Yeah.
like, I've just made a fool out of myself for no reason, and I didn't expect to get a response.
Yeah. But I was going to ask you a question, just putting it back to you. The content that you post, are any kind of colleagues or is anyone kind of aware that you kind of post? Everyone?
There was I think there was a day that it happened, or at least I think what it was, like, we have a bunch of new starters who came, and one of them realized, well, I think one of them had seen my videos either as they were starting up before, and this guy just told everyone, who's like, do you know we've got a TikToker in the company? Look, I showed all the videos. And then once, I think that started to go around, and then I started to have people ask a few questions and stuff. And then we had like a end of year, like, company party, like the whole company.
Okay.
And they do this thing where they give out awards. So they'll be like, I don't know, best duo, like two people who are like mates or whatever. And then the one came up, there was like best influencer of the year, and I was like, are they gonna say what I think?
Oh no.
And they were like, and the winner with X amount of followers, X amount of likes, X amount of views. I was like, okay, well, I guess the cover's blown. And then everyone's like, what, you make videos? I'm like, yeah, I make videos. I think luckily, I was at one point I was a bit apprehensive, because I was like, I don't know, like, I talk about my company sometimes, it's all positive, but I don't know how they're going to view it. And whether they're going to have an issue with it or not, but I'm going to wait for them to bring it up. Like, I'm not going to, like, I don't know. I'm assuming they don't.
Yeah.
But by and large, it's all been fine. I think generally, when you get to a certain point, people respect it anyway. I think the tough bit is like if everybody's seeing it and it's not taking off, that's when it's a bit awkward. But if it's taking off, people are like, oh, fair enough. Like, you know,
like he's doing his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good on him.
Yeah, and they do ask questions and stuff. I think, just generally, most of my content, most people will see it, and like most people know it. All of my live streams is at least one person from my company on it.
But I think that's quite nice, though. I think it's quite nice that you kind of have people in real life, in the flesh, who kind of turn around. They're like, oh, you know, like, I saw your video, or like, you know, well done, that kind of thing. You know, you're doing a good job. I think when I kind of started posting content and stuff, my company was so up for it.
Really?
And I was so shocked about that, because, you know, it's a corporate company, you know, it's a top 5 accountancy firm in the world. And it's like, I was so surprised. It took me by surprise completely, because, you know, I guess it's that kind of aspect of professionalism in the company, but then, you know, the world's changing so much, and there are so many kind of influencers and content creators and stuff like that. And I guess it's great for the company as well, because if you're, you know, documenting your time at that company, and the video gets views, and, you know, they get more people applying for their roles and stuff like that, you know, it's a win-win situation. But yeah, all of my colleagues were so like up for it. They were like, oh, can I be in your video? It's honestly funny. It is.
I think if you've got like clean, brand safe content, it is definitely a win-win. And you're speaking positively about your company, you're, you know, sharing your experience, and it's all positive. I think it's useful. I think my company, because my company is a small company, so I think it's like a lot of the things that happen, it's the first time they've come across it. So they've never had, this is not something that's ever been dealt with before. We're a company of 100 people. Like, there's never been somebody who went viral talking about careers. Like, well, how do we deal with this? I don't even know. I remember, I've been at this company since there was 20 people. I remember the first person who had a baby, and they were like, we need a maternity policy. Like, we need to write a policy now.
That is crazy. Wow.
But yeah, no, I think generally, I think it's a good thing. If I were to give you a suggestion, do you have something that allows you to collect email addresses of people who like your content? Like, do you have something that, like a lead magnet?
Not that I'm aware of, but are you trying to suggest kind of sending a newsletter, or?
I would suggest, even if you're not, especially if you're not focusing on content now, have something that people can download for free in exchange for their email address. The reason being, especially with TikTok, your views are never having a following doesn't even guarantee that you can speak to those people who've decided to follow you.
Yeah.
Because of the way the platform works, it relies on you making good content and good content and good content. So if you can get to a place where you actually can speak to the people who have expressed that they like your stuff and they're interested in you,
Mm.
that's how you start to actually generate influence and power and money or whatever from your following, is by having a way to actually reach them. Because in at least in online marketing, they say, in email marketing, they say an email list is worth £1 to £4 or $1 to $4 per month for every person on your list. So let's say you have a list of 100 people, that's worth $100 to $400 per month. Whereas your following on TikTok it's more of a reflection that you're good at creating content than a actual route to, influence those people specifically.
I feel like, just to add on with content creation, I think my mentor for law, he's currently a trainee solicitor, but he said that in an interview situation, you can kind of bring up your content creation and say, you do X, Y, and Z, but as well as this, a different perspective to kind of, and an outlook on content creation is you treat your followers as though they're your clients. So that's something that's kind of stuck with me and resonated with me, because it's like, you're providing content for these people because, there's a swipe left option and, you can see who you're following, kind of what content they post. So I was like, that's such a good way to look at it, because you're kind of building your client base in a way from TikTok if you look at it like that. And, you're generating kind of content and you're producing different videos for these people, as well as other people who kind of the algorithm hits, if that makes sense. Well,
yeah. No, I think there's so much to be gained for it. I would recommend that everyone actually make content. I would recommend it for everyone, because I think the thing as well I like about your content is I like people who talk about stuff that they've done. And yours is a lot about like documenting the process of different things that you're doing. And I think like as your career progresses, that account will grow with it, because as you do more cool stuff, you're going to keep talking about that stuff. And as that grows and grows and grows, that stuff's it's only going to get cooler and cooler. Like as you progress in your corporate career, as you progress with your business, like the stories you got are going to be more interesting. The insights you have are going to be wiser, and you're just going to grow, and you're going to the account's going to come with you.
Agreed.
So I think you got a lot of potential with it, man. So it's good that you started early as well.
Getting there. Getting there.
Nice. So let's talk about property. What's your involvement with property to start with? For those who are watching, probably not that familiar with like how everything works in that world. So what's your involvement?
Yeah. So I guess started my company in August time, just because I thought that I was going to get my first property a bit earlier on than I did. So I kind of started off, kind of getting the company on Company's House, doing all the legal stuff behind that. And essentially what I do is I technically manage property on a rent-to-rent basis. So I'm always, the first point of contact. I'm, the company is under my name. So I kind of, essentially the director. And I'm just managing a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in Fulham in London. So very nice area. It's doing really well. But I essentially invested around January time. So first month's rent and deposit. And we kind of just kicked off there.
Nice. And what made you get into that?
So actually a friend of mine who I'm really close with, he's my mentor. So I'm very lucky to have him as a mentor. He's kind of always been my inspiration in terms of property and in terms of progressing my career. So he has a few businesses himself. He's very successful. He's 24 now and he has 3 or 4 properties that he's, put a mortgage down, renovated, etc. And he kind of just taught me about the rent-to-rent concept. So I think I met him after work one time. And, I had a bit of money saved up. Like I sold my car. I was a few months into my placement. And I was like, okay, I've got this money. What do I do with it? And first I thought, stocks and shares, that kind of thing. It's good to invest in that, but it's a very long-term process. But he just essentially kind of told me about rent to rent and the whole process and how it works. And we kind of went from there. So he's technically my landlord. It's like a 3-way split.
Oh, I see.
So I was very lucky and fortunate to obviously know him, and that goes back to networking. If I didn't know him, I would have struggled, and I mean struggled, getting my first property, just because a landlord is not gonna turn around and, you know, hear your pitch without any prior experience, any bank statements, you know, nothing.
Yeah.
And essentially, yeah, my friend, you know, shout out Jan Kelvin Money. He helped me with everything and he guided me along the way. So yeah, he's, I guess, essentially, yeah, my landlord, and I'm operating now. So
yeah, I've seen I've been involved in like Airbnb for a couple of years now, but I've seen that process of trying to land rent-to-rent deals. Brutal, man.
It's tough.
Brutal.
It's
like cold
tough.
call after cold call, different strategies, going through agents, going to viewings, going through purple rigs, everything. It's absolutely brutal. It's hard.
Crazy. It's
really,
crazy.
really hard.
It's crazy. And yeah, hence why I go back to kind of, you know, the whole networking aspect, because if I didn't know him, then if I didn't network with him, then I would have kind of not had this opportunity. And going back to my placement also, if I didn't do a whole placement year, then I would have not had the opportunity to start this business. And, you know, I saved up money for 5-6 months, got it in January. You know, it was a lot of money. Initial investment, it was like, you know, your sourcing fee, which is 3,000, rent 4,250, deposit 4,250. That's a crazy amount of money.
That's a lot to put down. Yeah.
That is a lot to put down. And from a placement student who's earning like, you know, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. But you know, it was definitely a struggle. But yeah, we kind of started off there.
And what are your, I guess, like, maybe let's talk a bit about more specifically what it is. So it's you're finding a landlord who's got a property, and you're saying to that landlord, I'm going to guarantee you rent every month.
Yep.
And then you're taking the property and then renting it out on a short-term basis through different platforms.
Yep.
And then the money that you get is the difference between the rent you've guaranteed and the bills and everything like that, and whatever you can get for it on these other platforms.
Yeah, essentially that's the concept. And you kind of, whether it's one landlord or whether it's like a two-way split, in my scenario, you kind of just get the property sublet to you and you manage it on a company-let agreement. So whether, you know, depending on the contractual terms, mine's only for 1 year at the moment, but I plan on extending hopefully. And yeah, I kind of guarantee monthly rent as well as the maintenance. So I've had so many kind of situations that, you know, where it's gone wrong.
Really?
Yeah, quite a few.
In 3 months?
In 3 months.
God.
Yeah.
That's
It's rough. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, the first issue I guess that I had was this family. They were staying, I think it was 7 guests, and they had a funeral to attend to. But when they put the key in the lock, the key snapped and it got stuck in the lock. So there's me. Yep, it's crazy. There's me, and that's not even the worst part. You know, I kind of sorted all of that out, but in the meantime, it was a Friday and it was like, you know, lunchtime, and because the property is relatively close to me, it's only 3 stops away on the tube, so I'm very fortunate about that. But you know, I'm the person that has to deal with it, and the one thing that I can tell people going into this business, you know, it's very hands-on. Like if you're managing it yourself, very hands-on, and you need to account for that. You need to find a perfect property that's a perfect location that's very close to you, so you can always be there if anything goes wrong. Or, you know, if you're lucky enough, you can pay a management team to do everything for you. But in my case, it's all me. You know, it's all me. But in addition to that, though, I'm very fortunate enough to have my girlfriend help me with this. So we're both doing placements at the moment. So we're both managing it, and we're both kind of going halves on it. So we're very fortunate in that sense to kind of have each other to, you know, kind of be like a safe burden in a way. Yeah. So, yeah.
And how have you found it so far? Like for me, January was rough. January was pretty bad.
Tough.
And then February, a bit better. And then the rest, like March, good. And by the look of things, the rest of the year is looking a lot better. But I don't know if you've had a similar experience.
I mean... January, we started off on the 15th of Jan. Right. So we kind of count it as we got the property on the 10th of Jan. And, you know, we had to set everything up. We had to do all of the logistics and whatnot. And we kind of count it from the 10th to the 10th, just because that's when we have to pay rent. So for us, it was January was tough. we had to pay, I think, 1.4k out of our own money. Yeah, which were for rent and bills and whatnot. So I think we generated like 3k in Jan, but obviously rent is 4,250. So
Yeah.
you know, we had to put a bit in.
That's quite scary because I've had properties where I took them in January and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah,
Like that's not, if you want to take it, ideally you don't take it in January because you're like, whatever my fears were, they're all coming true.
Yeah.
Like January is just,
No, that's a lesson learned. Yeah. And then I mean, what I forgot to say before was, you know, the issues that I had to deal with. I had a broken toilet, so I had to completely get a new toilet and kind
you
of.
had to pay for that as the manager or
It was, my friend would have paid for it, but we went halves on it, and the landlady, the way he basically pitched the contract was, pitched it to her was, you know, he'll take over everything, all the maintenance and whatnot, and obviously he sublet the property to me. But we went halves on it, which is really nice of him. And I feel like if I didn't have that connection with the landlord, he would have just got me paying the whole thing. But yeah, that's the kind of issue that I had with
broken
that.
toilet in month 1.
If it's in second month. Second month.
Fine.
It's crazy.
You had a bit of time to warm up.
Yeah. No, honestly, there were like a few bits that needed doing, and you know, that's coming out of our money, and you know, it was very stressful, man. Like when I tell you, I think this month, like I was paid a few days ago. This was the first time I kept my paycheck in 3 months.
Wow.
Just because my money was going towards the property because I had to add different bits to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there was one time I had £10 in my bank account that would last me 10 days. And I guess this is where the entrepreneurial mindset comes in, because, you know, I was selling stuff on Vinted. I was doing extra stuff. You know, I was working like 3 different jobs. I was just trying to generate income. And I feel like when you want to make something work, like you put your all into it.
Yeah.
And then that's when, you know, you see the progression and you're kind of so proud of what you've built and how much you've done and what you've become. So
100%, man. I think especially for those of us that have took quite a traditional safe route of like university onto placement, onto job, and like paycheck coming in every month. Like it's very important to have something in your life that exercises that risk muscle, that actual high state, like something where you put skin in the game. You could lose, like this could go wrong or this could go right, and being able to operate in those situations. Firstly, knowing that you're gonna be okay. Like when things go wrong, you can look back and say, I've dealt with £10 in the account for 10 days. I know no matter what that I can get out of a hole that I put myself in. And secondly, just getting comfortable with it, like being able to make decisions under pressure, being able to wake up with 5 problems and take a deep breath and say, smile on your face, be like, let's go. I think it's really important, because otherwise you just end up, I just think you end up soft. If no matter how high pressure your job is in a corporate world, it's always pretty safe. It's always pretty safe. And there's just a different steel that you get from doing these kinds of projects where you can lose, like you could lose hard, and it could be painful.
It's
and you could lose your paycheck from your safe job.
It's very true. I feel like with the corporate life, you know, it's kind of, you've got that safety net. Yeah. You know, everyone's always reviewing your work. It kind of goes up the chain essentially. But when you're doing service accommodation, it's all you. Yep. You know, I'm lucky enough to have a partner with me that's kind of going through the same process, and you know, we're both working together. But if I was doing this on my own, like the amount of issues that I've had, I would struggle. Like I'd wake up, like you said, 5 different issues. You know, you have to put a smile on your face. You just have to. Yep. Like there's no other way to it. And the amount of stress that I've kind of had through doing this service accommodation, this business, everything, it's been stress that I've never experienced in my life. But I'm telling you, what I would say is character building. It's very much character building, and I'm very happy and fortunate that it's very hands-on for me, and I've kind of gained so much experience through this business and doing what I do. So,
and what are your plans with it in the future? Would you take on more properties? By the way, the sound of it, it's already tough.
Yeah, no, I think I need to finish uni first. But funny you say that though. It's this property now that I've got is going really well. Like it's generating a lot of income now, to the point where, you know, I can get another service accommodation and I can just branch out my portfolio. So I'm in a predicament. I'm gonna see how it goes for the next few months. And if I've generated quite a bit, then I might invest in another service accommodation for the summer and just kind of build my portfolio from there, really.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, because I've got a couple of friends who've been doing Airbnb for a while, and I think they have two sides of the business. One which is basically rent to rent, where they guarantee rent, and the other side is commission.
Okay.
Like commission only. And I think that the thing is with them, they got stung pretty hard because they did rent to rent right before COVID.
Oh.
So imagine taking on £20,000 a month of liabilities, and then the government says, "Oh, by the way, Airbnb is not legal."
Yeah. I
saw
that video.
Yeah.
It's
so
crazy.
they've been like, okay. Since then, they've been like, we kind of prefer the commission because at least then it's more a case of like we get rewarded for how well we optimize the property and make more money for the landlord. And if worst case it makes nothing, we're not paying anything. So it's kind of like there's a nice risk-free element to those kinds of things. But would you consider anything like that, or do you prefer the rent-to-rent side where you can like take all the profit?
I mean, I would definitely consider it. I've considered it actually recently. Funny you say that, just because the guy that did the job for the toilet, so the plumber, I just literally got him off My Builder. I kind of just got talking to him, and he gave me a very good deal for the job, and I kind of built that connection with him straight away because we both come from like similar backgrounds. I think he's 30, and he kind of just helped me with that situation. But then because as a plumber, you're going to different houses multiple times a day, and he has a very good like set of connections. He's got a list of connections who have different properties elsewhere, and I essentially helped him set up a property in Mitcham. Literally not too long ago, like a few weeks ago. He's got it all set up, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment. He has an accountant, so they helped with the setting up the company, but I helped with all of the logistics in terms of Airbnb, booking.com, getting him all the descriptions, because his English, like, it's good, but it's obviously not as good as mine. So I helped him with that, and he had a few of his good friends there. One of them's a gas engineer. The other one does, carpet cleaning and runs a shop. I think the other one is in tech. So there were multiple people there who were of different experiences, and we were just kind of helping him getting the property set up and stuff like that. And one of the guys that I met, the gas engineer, he had an opportunity in Clapham, I think it was a 3-bedroom property, and he was like, oh, kind of, if you help me, then I'll help you, and we can do like a 60-40 split. So he can do all the maintenance, all of the hands-on work, whereas all I'll have to do is just do all of the computer stuff, managing the bookings, talking to the guests, stuff like that. So that's when it comes back to the connections and who that's a great opportunity to kind of gain commission from that. But a 60-40 split is crazy. That's nice, man. It's really nice. So yeah, I'm definitely thinking about it 100%.
Nice. It sounds like you got a lot of opportunities in your life from networking.
It's true. I mean, I'm very blessed in terms of networking and kind of being extroverted, because I know being the way I am doesn't come easy to a lot of people in terms of, speaking to people, getting yourself out there, imposter syndrome. That's such a big thing now, especially after COVID. But I feel like I've just kind of had no choice. I kind of just always put myself out there, always put myself in situations that, I wouldn't potentially see myself in, but I've always taken benefits from it, and I've built my network, because in the future, I just want to turn around and be like, oh, I know a solicitor here, I know a barrister here, I know a technician, I know all of these people, and it's, it will come in a great, I guess it would be a great advantage for the future. So.
And do you do it deliberately and strategically, the networking stuff, or does it kind of just happen? Like, do you say, okay, I want to, like, how strategic is it?
It's just 50-50.
Okay.
But the thing is with me, I'm a very open-hearted person.
Yeah.
So when I see someone, trying to, I guess, make something out of themselves and, push themselves as well, it kind of just reminds me of myself. And that's why I just naturally want to help. Like, my energy just attracts other people. And that's where, business ideas come in left, right, and center. And it's like, I never have a purpose in terms of, thinking strategically, like, yes, this is what I want to get out of the person. everything comes naturally. So
That's interesting, because what you said, you're like, I want to help, which I think is one thing that people, the easiest way to mess up networking is to think about what you want.
Exactly.
And the easiest way to get great at networking is to get in the other person's head and think about what they want. And even a level above that is it sounds like you're doing it naturally, but looking for win-win situations where there's a win for you, there's a win for them, and it's mutually beneficial, whatever the situation is. And I found that, like, I made that, I think it must have been around like my third year of university, I started to really focus on this. Like, I just made a decision of, like, networking wise, I'm just going to focus on how much value can I add to people, and have that to the point where I want them to be confused about why I'm adding so much value.
Yeah.
I think I learned about, like, the law of reciprocation or something, whereby if you help people, naturally they're going to want to look for ways to help you as well, and you can help them, they can help you, and everyone's happy. But I just literally started, like, with my study notes, I would just share them with people. Like essay preparation, I'd just share it. Or, like, even with the stuff with preparing for consulting, I would just, like, CVs, tips, I would get anything I could, I would just start sharing and sharing and sharing and sharing. And by that, like, it's an enjoyable way to live because people like it, and it's just more pleasant. But also, as an additional benefit, people are going to be equally looking for opportunities to help you. Like, there's a lot of people I know who just would kill for an opportunity to help me, because I've just loaded with them with so much value in any opportunity that I can, that they're like, any chance that they can see to introduce me to someone or help me with something, they're there.
It's so true. I mean, recently, like, an example of that for me was I have a friend now who's a manager in M&A at my company, and he runs his own private school. So it's kind of like it's called like the Open Private School, OPS, and he basically, it's a platform where he helps people who are, you know, state educated, who are first generation university students, etc., gain internships and placements in the accountancy field. And I was helping him, you know, with TikTok and stuff. He was one of the reasons why I wanted to join the firm, because I used to listen to his podcast for the company. He's like the poster boy. He's the poster boy. So yeah, his background, it was incredible, and he kind of motivated me to join. And I think like 4 weeks in, I was sat with my colleagues, and I was like, wow, this is, you know, that person. He's, you know, that guy. And I just walked up to him and I kind of introduced myself, and I was like, you know, you're one of the reasons I joined. You know, it would be great if we could get a bit of time, you know, to meet up at lunch, because I'd love to get to know you as a person and just your experience in general. And ever since then, he's just been helping me. He's like, oh, I've got connection here, I've got connection there. He's got he's got like a ceremony, I think it's like Black British Awards, and he was nominated. And he literally sent me an invite like for next week, and he was like, you know, I want you to meet some fantastic people, you know, would you be up for it? Nice. And that was one of the opportunities. And then another one was an internship at an investment bank. So it was very much focused, you know, on state educated like myself. But, you know, he was like, would you be interested? So I was like, yeah, for sure. He referred me. I sent in my CV, cover letter, had my interview on Monday. And, you know, fingers crossed, I hopefully get it. But without networking, that would have never happened. So,
man, you've had a lot of success with it. If you can figure out what it is that you do that's given you that much success and make videos about it, people will love it. And I think a lot of it, like you say, is just the mindset, you know, of just like, I genuinely like that guy's stuff, I'm going to go tell him. It's almost like you're doing less thinking than a lot. People are overthinking it. Maybe you're just, I'm going to go introduce myself.
For sure. You just have to. You have to have that mindset. You have to just, you know, you have to go for it. You know, you only live one life, and life is what you make of it. So I'm just doing everything that I can to be financially free when I'm 30, living in the Maldives. You know, living a good life, man.
Yeah, nice, man.
But yeah.
Cool. Okay. Anything else you want to leave us with? Final thoughts?
I guess for the people who are, you know, pushing towards placements and, you know, applying for training contracts, VAT schemes, whatever it may be, just keep pushing. I've had a lot of messages recently of people, you know, asking for tips and trying to gain advice and etc. But just honestly keep pushing, because it only takes one company to kind of give you that opportunity, give you that next step in your career for you to progress and elevate yourself. So yeah, I definitely advise that. And I guess, yeah, thank you to all of my friends and family who have obviously supported me. Got to give them thanks. And yeah, obviously thank you to you for bringing me on the podcast. It was definitely a dream of mine to kind of be on here. So
awesome, man. Where can people find you online?
TikTok, so at amo.bo. LinkedIn, I guess, Armando Bogdanov. Just
You're gonna have to spell that out.
ARMANDO BOGDANOV.
There you go.
And yeah, that's pretty much the platforms I'm on. So
great, man. Well, thanks for joining me. Maybe we'll do another one of these at some point.
For sure.
All right, man. Thank you. Keep struggling. Let's go.